right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Friday. Today is going to be my first official video. Last week didn't count, um, but we are going to be. This is going to be again another sort of formatting video, not necessarily talking about anything specific, but more so just to set up a proper plan for going forward. Because last week we sort of went over what my official agenda is for my day as a whole, but now I wanted to address how I'm going to be going forward with cards, how I'm going to be formatting the videos, and maybe some stuff you can look forward to. So anyone who watches this could see whether or not this is something that they would actually want to tune into. Um, but that's the goal of this video. So today I'm going to be discussing essentially what I see is as the vision for what my videos are going to look like, the inspiration behind them. I want to talk about how they're going to be formatted. I'm going to talk about the magic, basically everything in magic that I have learned so far from a general viewpoint, in the context of like this is how I'm going to be moving forward with talking about specific commander decks and how I'm going to be projecting my information. And then I'm going to see if I can set up a little bit of a preview for what people are going to have to look forward to for the next several weeks. Either way, enough of the administration stuff. Let's get into it. So, the vision. Okay, yeah, this isn't good enough. Um, but essentially, the idea behind how I'm going to be presenting these commander videos is I want to create a video experience in which I am able to get people, both new players and experienced players, in the same kind of experience where new players are able to gain critical information as to how to best play the game and how to best understand where they fall in terms of play style, types of commanders that they'll enjoy, and how to sort of pick up on the politics and a lot of the social aspect of the game that you can only really get through practice, but at the same time also help more experienced players, such as like even myself, with stuff like new techniques, new strategies, because there's always an opportunity to learn. And I think it's super important that we combine aspects of both competitive play and playing for fun when talking about when talking about Commander and hell, this game as a whole, because I really do think that's the best way to enjoy it. That is just my opinion, though. But that's going to serve as sort of like the center keystone for all of these videos going forward. Anyway, moving on to the format. Um, the format of all my Commander videos are going to follow the same principles, and they're all going to be directed by four key aspects. The first one is the Commander itself. So I'm going to introduce the video with the Commander, obviously. I'm going to explain the Commander as a single card, like assuming that this is just you're looking at the card in a vacuum. Like, what does it do? How does this interact with Magic as a whole? Strengths, weaknesses, all that stuff. Then after that, we talk about the deck type that the commander is going to want. Assuming that it is a commander, I will try to touch on what kind of decks would find that card in the 99 of, in case you enjoy you want to play a particular card that I'm covering, but it might not be as a commander that you want to play it, right? So I'm assuming it's in the 99, I do want to briefly touch on what kind of decks you'd find that card in, but since it's a commander video about that specific card, we are going to assume that generally you're going to want to play it as a commander. So that's most of the deck types we're going to be looking at. And then hopefully we'll also be able to establish what kind of power level we'll be sitting at. A lot of times it's flexible, but sometimes you might find that you might be confined to a certain range in power. Like some cards are just too good or too bad to reach certain areas, right? And then we'll talk about synergy. So we'll talk about staples. Auto includes for any commander deck of any deck type. We'll talk about cards that the commander cares about specifically, cards that you'll want to see in the commander deck for what it does and how it interacts with the commander, but also how it interacts with the other cards in the 99, because we don't necessarily want to focus too much on the commander. Like, it's awesome if we have a deck that can just go ballistic with our commander on the field, but there has to be some level of reservation about putting all our eggs in one basket and assuming the commander is always going to be a viable source of our win, right? There has to be some alternative, right? But again, we are still going to go off of the basis that these cards synergize with the commander and with the other cards in the 99. And that is going to roll into our combos and our win conditions. The last thing I'll try to talk about is piloting the deck and how that may change depending on both the commander you're running and the commanders you're running against. So what I mean by this is that your commander and the deck you run is going to essentially change how you might want to play. So like you might have a very particular play style. I know I do. I like to play very aggressively with my decks, but the thing is, right, not all your decks play the same, and they don't want you to play them the same way. So if I have like deck A that wants to shove creatures out as fast as possible, and I have deck B that wants to ramp and establish itself first, and then start shooting out creatures, I'm not going to play deck A and deck B the same way, because either I'll play deck B the way that I should play deck A, and I will overextend my creatures without establishing good inherent value first, and then I get shut down, or I'll play deck A the way I should be playing deck B, and I'll hold back too much, and then I'll get penalized for it. So it's important that while you might have a particular playstyle and you might have several decks that work with that, it's good to understand the nuance and the little differences that differentiate decks that will conform to a similar playstyle, because there are always going to be differences. Now, we're also going to talk a little bit about the politics of like dealing with other commanders and how one should best move forward depending on the kinds of opponents you're facing, both the people and the decks that you're playing against. And with those four aspects together, hopefully hopefully these four aspects can really just put together a solid understanding of what the deck is and what the commander is and what kind of deck and play experience it will generate for you. So with that, the objectives are, firstly, establish understanding. We want to make sure that we, both you, the viewer, and me, as someone who's probably going to be running this card, fully understand the commander and the deck type, which is paramount for us to even consider, because building them in a way that we can play them and building them to their full potential is, I mean, it's really, in my opinion, I think it's the only way to really enjoy the deck is to build it to its full potential, which is not necessarily objective because you can build a deck to be the most optimal or the most fun. So I do think you can make a deck to its full potential based on your own prerogative and not have it be as competitive as possible or as efficient as possible, as long as you are enjoying it to the most you possibly can. That is the goal here. But in order to do that, first we had to create an understanding of what the commander is and what kind of decks we were making with it. Next is find some objectives. So something I've noticed when making deck lists is that it's super easy to miss really important cards for deck lists because there are a lot of different cards in Magic. It is so easy for any one person making a deck without outside help to completely lose track of some like auto includes in their lists. Hopefully, these videos can help both the viewers and myself with gathering some more ideas. Third, we want to make sure that the deck and the commander are right. Like, say what you will about wanting to try new deck types, new commanders. There's ultimately no point in spending all that time, effort, and money into a list that you won't enjoy. And I've learned that the hard way. Because I'll see a card in like a spoiler for a set. I'll think it looks awesome. I won't think about it. I'll just buy it up. I'll play it a couple times. I'll realize I don't like this. There goes all that money and all that time. Like at the end of the day, we're not made of money. We want to save where we can, and that means that, we want to make sure that when we're looking to make a commander, that it's actually going to be something that we're going to enjoy playing, not just thinking about playing, right? And lastly, the last objective is for these videos to help everyone, myself included, myself especially included, come to a better understanding of how to play the game with these commanders in mind. And now I get that the only way to really get functionally better at the game is practicing and playing, which these videos can't do for you. But hopefully these videos can provide some new ideas to stimulate that mind, get the brain going, and hopefully that will assist in thinking of some new strategies that when you implement will help make you better faster. And this leads into the hopeful results of these videos, which again, just go over. Hopefully by the end of each video, you will understand the commander, find some good cards for them, know if they're right for you, and have an idea of how to play them. Now, after that, I can't help you. At the end of the day, after I make a video out of commander, it is up to you, the viewer, and myself, assuming that I'm building this deck, to go forward with this information and make the best decisions for yourself, for the commander, for the deck, financially. I don't know why I'm making this tangent, but the idea is that hopefully I've done what I can to help everyone with the knowledge that I have, and hell, my knowledge isn't infinite. If you watch this video, these videos, anything in the future, you take issue with anything I say about any commanders, any decks, you have ideas that you think may be beneficial, by all means, please, I welcome the advice. I do not know everything. Without further ado, in no particular order of how I'm going to release them, I would like to give a slight preview for some of the commanders that I am personally building and how one might go about building them themselves. So, until next week.